Mike and I were here with you yesterday, and we were talking about this decision that the commissioners made. They were convinced by the argument put up by a nice group of people out in Cave Junction that if they simply fund a project to put in more wheelchair ramps in a state park, that's a wonderful thing. Yay. Okay, good. Wheelchair ramps, totally for it. But the rationale behind it was, and the thing that convinced the commissioners to go along with it, was that that was going to create as many as 214 full-time family wage jobs that are permanent after the wheelchair ramps are put in.
Completely believable.
Yes. I said to the commissioners on Wednesday, you're going to be remembered forever for this, because look, all that you need to do to convince the commissioners is bring them a good story and baffle them with numbers, and they're going to give you money.
Yeah, and that works in theory, except for the fact that I believe that only works when you're talking about something that they want to do with funds that are set aside from this economic development fund, which they, of course, will be able to tap into a little bit of that themselves. And I think it goes like that. I don't really think you or I could go up there and give them a story about the homeless people on our in our neighborhood and have them give you some money. I don't think it works that way. It has to be a special kind of government graft and corruption.
Probably the most important thing, everything comes back to this one issue: not having enough law enforcement and a lot of other things. Comes back to the idea that there's not enough economic prosperity in our county. Duh. And so,
right,
because they're in charge of directing that fire hose of state money that comes from those poor unfortunate people that lost all this money in the state lottery, because the commissioners are given the responsibility of directing that fire hose, and Cherryl Walker in particular, right here in this picture, Cherryl Walker. Oh, by the way, don't forget over here is Mike's other favorite newscaster.
Yes.
They're in charge of seeing that the money goes to the right place, as they are in a lot of things. And so the idea that we're going to trust them now, that they've proven that economic development is in the right hands, buddy. All you need to do is just give us more tax money, give us more economic development money, and we're going to put this to the proper place. And when you come to us, if you're part of the Rotary Club, and you say, we're going to put in wheelchair ramps, and that's going to create 200 full-time jobs forever, why, of course.
Yes, of course. Is that a cigar that Cherryl is smoking in that picture behind you? I don't know if that's just some artifacts behind her there in the photograph, but I wonder if that's a Cuban cigar.
She's holding out a finger kind of like this. It reminds me of something having to do with Rika Brown, as a matter of fact, because we're going to replay part of what Rika said on the Bill Meyer show. She's got her finger pointed out like this. When Dave Toller was involved in an illegal press conference that included Sheriff Gil Gilbertson, our county legal counsel, and they were inside the courthouse. They were bashing certain opponents that were running for office, and they were using a county facility to do that while voters were still voting. And it's against the law to do that in the building. This is where Art Harvey, I just got to say, this is where Art Harvey did it forever for me, and that he said, well, that's more than 100 feet from the polling station, so it's okay. But in order to get over 100 feet, Art Harvey had to go all the way down the hallway, past the door where we walked in, and turn around do a U-turn, and come all halfway back before it was 100 feet. Art. You're not supposed to do it in the building.
Yes. So the 100 feet doesn't count until you're outside of the building, pretty much.
Oh, well, the point is, any kindergarten student will know you don't measure things by going to the end of the hallway and then turning around in a U-turn. This did it forever for me. He will never, ever be believable for anything having to do with his office from now until eternity. This guy is not believable. He's a terrible county clerk, and he's a proven liar. Oh, I don't mind saying that. I don't mind saying that. Come after me. Oh, we're going to sue you. Yeah, go right ahead. Let's go to court on this particular issue, and then you tell everybody how honest you were being. Oh, but I thought that's the way that you measured things. So anyway, we had a picture of Dave Toller holding up photographs that were in the Courier from an ad that was placed there by those two candidates, and he's holding them up like this. And Rika Brown, no, it was like this. That's what it was. Rika Brown says, "That's not a picture of Dave Toller." He said, "Rika, you know this is Dave Toller. You could see his face, and those are his hands holding it, and you were there. What are you talking about?" "Well, look at his fingers. Look how big his fingers are." What? No, his fingers.
It's 3D, woo!
His fingers, yeah. Oh, now here's 3D television. His fingers look really large. You loon! You were there. What are you talking about? Well, that's obviously faked. How could it be faked? So here's Cherryl Walker holding out one. It's fake. It does look a little weird. I don't know if you can see it. It's so small. But this is from just a still. I just stopped it, and then she suddenly has one finger sticking out like this. At least it's not the middle finger, which she usually gives to us as a county commissioner. But anyway, why don't we go ahead and we're going to play this little clip from Rika Brown, who insisted when I went on the Bill Meyer show to tell this story, she insisted on not only coming on just before me, because this wasn't set up with her, but also while I was on to try to refute everything I was saying about these 214 full-time family wage jobs that are permanent, that are going to be created by building wheelchair ramps. This is such a winner. And she wanted to come on and explain to Bill Meyer, the host of the Bill Meyer show, gee, at least I don't call this the Dale show, it's the Dale and Mike show, that all of this is okay. Why don't you go ahead and play that, what she said there.
If the people of the Illinois Valley, the people who live right there, want to help improve that park and want to help take care of it, we're all in favor of that.
But the economic development aspect of it's blowing smoke, wouldn't you agree?
Really, no. Every park in this county is good for our economy, especially to the extent that we can improve them and take care of them.
But still, 200 jobs? That's the claim. 117 to 200 jobs.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what claims they made. Any economic good out of this.
So in other words, if we lie,
economic development fund.
So if we lie or exaggerate, but we do it for a good purpose, then it's okay?
Hey, lawyers lie and exaggerate all the time, and they still win cases, and they do it legally.
Okay, Rika, for the call. It's an interesting take on it. All right, Dale.
Oh, brother.
All right, I know.
What are you going to do when you've got? She is part of county government. And
well, listen, it's by any means necessary, lie about it. It's no big deal. Lawyers do it all the time. It's perfectly legal. When did legal get confused with morally correct?
She's on the Parks Board.
Somehow that happened.
She's on the county Parks Board. That's Rika Brown. And so, how far does this go? If the Parks Board lies to you, why, that's okay because it's for a good cause.
Right.
This is about a park, and so what's the official stand of the Josephine County government? Do you have any doubt why they say in Salem that when they say in Salem that we have the most corrupt county in the state, somebody's got to be number one. Really?
I'd sure like to see the graph there. I want to know how they put that whole thing together there, because I've heard that a number of times, but not from his mouth, I guess.
All you need to do is prove that you're doing, as she's saying, any activity at all is a nice thing. Look, okay, activity is nice. Kittens playing in the sunshine. Oh, I love it. But it doesn't mean the kittens playing in the sunshine are going to create 200 full-time permanent family wage jobs.
That's just silliness.
Don't lie to me. Okay, speaking of lying to me, we're going to play my favorite clip at all, and it's 8.5 minutes. So we're letting Cherryl Walker have her full say. Turns out that while I was on there explaining this, and people were laughing and laughing, well, Cherryl Walker decided for the first time ever to come on the Bill Maher show and give him a piece of her mind. And listen to what she says here, but please, there's a couple things that we could keep stopping it, but we'll let her talk and say her thing. But listen at the beginning to how Cherryl laughs at the question. She knows what this is about. This is not about just doing good things at a park. Cherryl is famous for setting up a straw man. Straw man being, you ask a question about this, and she'll say, you know, people are asking, why don't we say the Pledge of Allegiance? And I will tell you why. No, nobody's asking that, Cherryl. Nobody is asking, why are we saying the pledge? Well, the people who are against the junk ordinances are in favor of rats, and let me explain why rats are not a good. Cherryl, don't bother. No one is saying they're in favor of rats. But she gets to go on and on and on. You know, there's 12 different kinds of rats. Why there's an order. Don't tell us this list of things. You'll listen to her give a list of things of why parks are wonderful. We know that parks are wonderful, Cherryl. Why are you spending economic development money on this ludicrous proposition? But you listen at the beginning where Bill says, okay, you know, he asks her a question, and she laughs. You'll see why she's laughing. Go ahead and play this. 8.5 minutes. See you on the other end.
So, Commissioner, bring us up here. I'm kind of surprised you guys all went for it yesterday. Give us your take.
Well, the public should not be surprised that we go for it, because in Josephine County, tourism and parks is a huge part of our economy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only state park that we have, and it's at the confluence of the Illinois River on the forks of the river. That's why it's called Forks Park. And Josephine County, as a county government, we own almost all the access to the Rogue River in Josephine County. We have 18 boat ramps. And all of our campgrounds in the camp season, summer season, as soon as the weather is good, our campgrounds are full. And those people come in and they bring all kinds of money to the county for camping gear, food, restaurants,
mm-hmm.
gasoline, grocery stores, souvenirs, fishing gear, hiking gear.
I agree. I agree with you. Having a nice state park is a good community asset, and we can all agree on this. But what I'm focusing on is the lottery money, the rationale for taking the economic development money and giving it to the group that is working on doing the wheelchair ramps. The rationale is that the addition, and I read the proposal. I had the proposal. Roger ended up sharing it to me, and he's a nice guy. It seems like it's good people involved in here, lots of community involvement and volunteers. This is all good. But basically making the case that 117 to some 200 full-time jobs were going to be connected with taking lottery economic development funding and putting in wheelchair ramps. And that just stretches reality in my view. So where am I wrong?
When people have access to facilities, and we don't have all that many fully accessible parks for handicapped people anywhere in the state of Oregon, there are very few,
mm-hmm.
and we will have one of those few that people can come in and see this scenic area. And when they come, like I said, they bring their money, and these restaurants and grocery stores and gas stations have to hire people.
So we're looking for.
So
is it about attracting handicapped campers? Is that kind of what I'm, for lack of a better term?
There are handicapped campers, yes.
Well, sure, I know, but I'm just wondering, what's
yes.
the percentage of? I mean, we're claiming 117 to 200 full-time jobs. It's a lot of work. It really is.
That is the multiplier effect that is used on every economic development project in the entire state, probably every state in
mm-hmm.
the country. That if for every person that's into a facility, whether it is a a job that is in manufacturing, or whether it is a job in retail, or in this case, recreation or tourism, you have to take into account the multiplier effect of those people and their consumerism for the community. And because there are not that many handicap locations in the state, when people are going on vacation or recreating and I have to have wheelchair access, they look for those, and that's the location where they stop. That's where they camp. That's where they spend time. And you have to realize that State Park isn't the only attraction in the Illinois Valley. We have the Oregon Caves, and there are people that come to the Oregon Caves. And if we have places where they can camp and stay,
do we have wheelchair ramps over at Oregon Caves? For camping? I don't know.
No, there's no camping.
Yeah,
in the Oregon Caves. No. And but the chateau is there. We have people that will come to that one, and just because you can't get a wheelchair into the caves doesn't mean people don't want to go there for the atmosphere and see the sights. We also have the Smoke Jumper Museum at our Illinois Valley.
The multiplier.
So there's a lot of
the
things.
multiplier effect, though, seems vastly exaggerated, though. I mean, you can say this is what is commonly expected, but I mean, the whole grant funding scheme seems to be built on a fraud, in my view. But let's just say, I could see somebody saying that, maybe we'll get a handful of retail jobs. But the idea but remember, they were saying that people were going to move to the Illinois Valley in the proposal here, Commissioner Walker. And the proposal said that people would move to the Illinois Valley because of the beautification of this park and bring their wealth and such. And I just don't see that. I could see certainly people to stay in the Illinois Valley if you get rid of the druggies in the park, but that's another issue.
Well, I think that people are making that don't understand economic development, are making something more of this than what it is. $5,000 is a minuscule part.
Of course it is, but it's still being sold. But it's still being sold with a falsehood, in my view.
I don't believe that. You have to use multiplier effects, and that's what we do. And what we're going to have in Illinois Valley is currently the county has entered into a contract for a facility at our airport that, again, we look at a multiplier effect for economic development.
Is this the drone project?
Yes.
That makes sense. Makes sense. That's
so
demonstrable. You have contracts and you have hard jobs that we're talking about. This is pie in the sky.
When you talk about an area, we are looking at the big picture of the area. If we're bringing more people in, the more projects that we have, the more amenities that we have, the more jobs that will take place out there.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why doesn't Josephine County then build another park, and then we have 400 jobs created? Just build the park itself and create more handicap parking and camping and such.
We have a lot of parks in Josephine County. County owns a lot of them, and currently we are investing money into our Whitehorse Park to do that very thing. Because most of our parks were built at a time when the RVs or the trailers that came in were small, and now they're much larger. So Whitehorse Park is one we are focusing on to provide for the larger RVs and motorhomes and to put in some yurts. And that's a project that's in about a 3-phase project that we have undertaken to improve that park. It's one of our old parks. It's one of the best parks, and it's close to town. And so, yes, we're investing in that.
All right, so let's go back to this park here, the park that we were discussing in the first place. Do you have a metric in place that after all of this gets built and it's all completed, that we will now be able to track the 117 to 214 or so full-time jobs created? Will there be a metric so that you can say, yep, look what happened after we did this, and directly connect it?
Anytime you have a project that goes into an area, and as you view your economic development that takes place over time, you will be able to see that connected with the projects such as the Illinois Valley improvements and the projects that are going out the Oregon Caves, you will be able to take the number of jobs that are created and take that back to the development that has taken place over time.
Can you directly connect it, though? Because this is the proposal. The proposal directly says influencing. How do you track it? Because I can say it. I'm not trying to call prettifying the park ugly. This is a wonderful thing. It's a community asset. I just don't see it as a pure economic development play. That's all.
In our county, parks are economic development. They bring millions into our county.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't have any problem with putting $5,000 into a project that is going to increase.
I don't have a problem with $5,000 going into it either. I just think it's being sold as a lie. That's all. That's what I don't think it's being sold truthfully.
And I don't agree.
Okay, well, you and I disagree on that, Commissioner, but I appreciate you coming in and talking about it. I really would. I guess within the next year or two, we'll be able to see, a tracking and explosion of Josephine County GDP. I mean, you get a couple hundred full-time jobs connected with something like this, then that'll be a huge success story.
It certainly would.
All right. Thank you for the Commissioner. Appreciate you being on. Okay.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
All right, you too now.
Well, there you go. It just when citizens got together during the last levy or the levy before that, there was a meeting. A lot of people came to this to hear the pros and cons of voting for a levy and putting your trust in the county commissioners. And it sounds like I'm off the topic, but I'm not. And so I went to this as one of the panelists. Sandy Casanelli was there as one of the panelists. She knows what she's talking about these things, and I like to think that I do. And on the other side was Gil Gilbertson, who had changed his position about the ISF, the Internal Services Fund, and Mark Gatlin, and Keith Heck, and Cherryl Walker. And the highlight of this to me was when somebody in the audience said, "Would you swear on the Holy Bible that all of the ISF money, 100%, not 90%, all of that money that we're voting on here, all of it will go to the Sheriff's Department and 10% won't be taken out for other county services?" And they all agreed to swear on the Holy Bible that...
Was that before they got elected?
No, that was after they were in. It was Mark Gatlin wasn't running for commissioner at that point. The reason I bring this up is you can just imagine what the reaction of the audience was. And Mark Gatlin said, "Well, you don't need to worry about whether the money's going to the right place by these people," and he pointed at me. "These people will make sure that it does. I'm going to make sure that it does. In order to make sure, I'm not going to give you the money. Well, are you crazy?" And so she's so convinced that if she just goes there, that she can baffle you with BS. That, I mean, you heard her list of wonderfulness about parks. This is not the point. She knows what the point is. Well, we're doing this. We have ramps. We have ramps at the White Horse. Yeah, they're boat ramps, and they don't create 200 full-time jobs.
No, one of the funniest things about that, and the most telling about Cherryl, is her saying, "Well, people who understand economic development know these things."
That's
as
right.
Though there's a really condescending, like, "I'm sorry you don't understand, and this is flying above your head, but here's how it works."
She's always doing that, and the people say, "Well, Dale, you're so hard on the commissioners at the weekly business session." We listen to this kind of foolishness on a weekly basis. Look, this is just foolish, okay? And don't change it over to, "Well, don't you like parks? I mean, think of the kittens." Yeah. No, it's not about
This is about math. This is about reality. This is about keeping us in a world where we're still talking about things which are tangible. As opposed to, puffy little clouds going by that you can't touch, or, Common Core math that no one understands. It is clear. It is clear that you're not going to create 200 full-time family wage jobs out of that. You're just not going to do it. I would be willing to bet you're not even creating 10 jobs out of it. You're going to create some jobs when people are there pouring the concrete. And that you can be sure of. After that, it's a crapshoot.